Woo! 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 Anthony Del Toro, Sam Tobias, Chris Gonzalez, Foamfoot 420, and Tracy Bogert, president of the Bexar County MAGA Republicans, and Greg Abbott, re-election campaign. Woo! It is a Taco Tuesday. It is the final Taco Tuesday of June. Only 2 days left in the month of June as 2021 and summer are moving along faster than I expected. Welcome in. It's the Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney. So much going on in the world of sports, and we are all over it. Whether it's the NBA, and my goodness gracious, I've called the LA Clippers and the evil one, Kawhi Leonard, who did not play last night and has not played in this series. You laugh, Kawhi, and he's got a reason to laugh. I call them the Terminator. They're like the Terminator movie. You think they're dead. You think the movie is over. No, it's not. Shannon Salty Sweeney, maybe we should start calling Paul George Playoff P, his self-pronounced nickname, the nickname he gave himself. He sets a career playoff record last night, 41 points. No Kawhi, no problem. The Clippers have playoff P.
Let's not forget that at the beginning of the playoffs, the Suns, I don't think many people are on that bandwagon saying they're going to be the ones going to the finals and probably the ones to beat once they get there. So I have a hard time being like, oh, look at the Clippers now, especially with the up and down that they always have. But it is nice that it's a series again for us just fans of basketball.
It's not nice for me. I've been saying this since round one, Shannon. I can't rest. I can't enjoy these playoffs till the Clippers are done because of number two.
Is it going to make it worse for you that they are going to possibly, or at least still have the chance to advance? I mean, because he's not playing right now, so it's not like if they win.
Not right now.
He can't. There's no glory that he can get.
But see, back to my Terminator movie, they go to the finals, and then all of a sudden, because he wants his little trophies. He would love to win the MVP trophy, and he's gutless. So when he thinks the Clippers are out of it, he's not going to play because he's got a boo-boo. No, I think if they go to the finals, he would miraculously feel better and come out and play and try to win the MVP trophy so he can hold up both trophies. And then he will have won with three different teams, Spurs, Raptors, and Clippers. It ain't over yet, and I can't rest easy. So, I mean, as you say, and that's why I groaned, when, and most of America probably says, well, at least we've got a series now at 3-2. This goes back to Staples Center in Los Angeles on Wednesday night, and the Clippers will try to force a Game 7. But, God, I don't like this.
Well, let me help you out because
Thank you.
USA Basketball announces its roster yesterday. Kawhi Leonard is nowhere to be found on this list.
True. But Pop's the coach.
We don't have to have that mix up.
That's true.
Pop. And if anything, it also says, look, he doesn't think he's going to be ready by then. Perhaps.
I hope.
Maybe we don't get him for the rest of the playoffs.
Well, but
Maybe
what?
He's having too much sitting in the suite.
Yeah.
Buffet. All the beer and wine you can drink. I'd sit up there. I'd stay if I was making millions at the same time.
See, but the reality is, and we talked about this, Shannon, you wouldn't sit up there. You would be down on the bench supporting your team, which is what a leader and a teammate does.
You're right. I forgot I'm a good person.
Yeah, exactly. But you were projecting into Kawhi-ness.
Yes.
So, yeah. I won't give it away. His name will come up in a later segment in this show as well. He just won't go away. He's in the news. He's in another kind of news today. Something else, and Shannon, I figure we'll do this because I want to play the audio. We'll do this at 7. We'll do this just after the top of the hour, less than an hour from now at 7. Scottie Pippen. After our show, we talked about him yesterday, and we've talked about him way too much lately because he's back in the news. He's making a lot of news, but he went on the Dan Patrick show yesterday, and as much as I was beginning to, for a while, I was okay with Scottie Pippen. I kind of thought, and I guess he was the Robin to Michael Jordan's Batman, and I had those memories. I watched The Last Dance, and they rekindled that moment when he did not go into the game because the play was not drawn up for him, and it was kind of gutless and awful. And again, like Kawhi, anti-team and anti-leadership. But I was okay, and it was with each passing day, and yesterday was like the clincher. I have grown to like Scottie Pippen less and less. And yesterday, listening to the Dan Patrick show, which is on our air right after us. It's a nationally televised or broad. Well, it is televised. It's on Peacock. It's a nationally broadcast show. I'm at a new. I do not like Scottie Pippen. I think he's ridiculous. I think he's probably out of his mind. I think he's gone off the deep end, and he is hurling, I believe, ridiculous racist allegations, in this case at Phil Jackson, and we've got audio for you in less than an hour.
I'm gonna say what I said yesterday of I all of this for his bourbon. A, it's too much, but B, he's gonna have nothing left when he's done promoting this thing because he is burning so many bridges. And I don't know, maybe behind the scenes he had already burned those bridges, so he's like, who cares? But it's just, talk about a guy who's going after clout. I think clout chaser in the sports world right now, he's got to be number one.
Yeah. And I believe, and you brought this up, I think a lot of this stems from Michael Jordan's 10-part Netflix documentary. I guess it was also on ESPN, The Last Dance, where Scottie Pippen is portrayed not only in that moment when he doesn't go into the game because he didn't like that Phil Jackson drew up a play for Tony Kukoc, but that injury he had when instead of rehabbing in the summer, his team needed him, so he thought, I'm going to enjoy my summer. I'm not going to rehab until the season starts, and he took months and months and months out of the season. Again, at a time when the team could have used him, and Michael Jordan was in his prime, and there were games to be won, and Scottie Pippen was nowhere to be found. And again, speaking of Kawhi Leonard, maybe a similar dynamic, a guy who's more about me and less about the team.
Well, and that brings us to our poll question today, Chris. Speaking of Scottie Pippen, asking Scottie Pippen is, and you fill in the blank, correct, bitter, out of his mind, or irrelevant. My vote right now goes bitter just because I don't really know where all of this is coming from. And we texted a bit yesterday about it, and I know his son recently passed, and I know that's got to be hard on the guy.
Yeah.
But I don't think this is part of the grieving process.
Well, and as you bring that up, and you and I, as you mentioned, were texting about Scottie Pippen yesterday, and I forgot about his son. And I obviously that's a god awful tragedy in anybody's life. And all sports talk aside, my heart goes out to Scottie Pippen, the Pippen family, and everybody who knew and loved Scottie Pippen's son. But as we know, everybody grieves differently. So, maybe, as we look for reasons why Scottie Pippen all of the sudden is acting this way, maybe we don't rule that out. Maybe this attitude was boiling up in Scottie Pippen's soul or in his mind or in his heart. And after his son died, maybe that led him to go, you know what? Screw it. I've been holding this in. I'm going to just go after a bunch of people I don't like. And one of those guys apparently is Phil Jackson.
But just because he's deciding to let it out now doesn't mean that gets him off the hook for saying the things that he's.
No.
Because we'd be thinking the same thing had this happened, 6 months earlier.
True. True.
but his
Yeah.
bourbon's coming out now.
but is this a way to sell bourbon? I mean,
We'll see.
Yeah. It's a great question. So, okay. So that's a lot of NBA stuff going on and off the court. And again, there's another NBA game tonight. Milwaukee taking on Atlanta, and all eyes on Trae Young. That game in Atlanta. Last time I looked, Milwaukee was a 7-point favorite on the road in the Eastern Conference Finals. Of course, a lot of that has to do with Trae Young, his ankle injury in game number 3. We talked about it yesterday. He did have an MRI. I think last time I checked, he's questionable for tonight. I got to believe difference between Trae Young and Kawhi Leonard, Shannon, if there's any way Trae Young can pull himself onto that court tonight and play for his team, I believe Trae Young's going to do that if it's physically and humanly possible tonight.
Yeah, he's got a bone bruise, so he's not ruled out, and it probably will be they'll probably let him decide. It's not an elimination game yet, but I think it's still very much a must-win game for them to still have hopes of getting through this round of the playoffs. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see him at the start and maybe, let him feel it out, lower his minutes a bit, and put him in those crucial moments. But a bone bruise will definitely change his acceleration up and down the court. And
Yeah.
The one thing with Milwaukee is once they figure it out, where his weakness is, they can take advantage of it if they're smart. If Budenholzer makes those adjustments like he did in the back half of that Nets series, they can lock Atlanta down. So hopefully it's not hindering him as bad as what it might hinder a guy like Kawhi. I mean, he did come back in and play a little bit in that game 3.
True.
But he wasn't the same.
No. And as you mentioned, part of that acceleration, that kind of his lightning quickness, part of what makes Trae Young so effective is, he's mercurial. He's just, you can't cover him. He's so fast and quick and can move with and without the ball. So, and you're right. It's not an elimination game. It's 2-1 Milwaukee going into tonight's game at Atlanta, but 3-1 typically is you ain't coming back unless, and the Clippers were down 3-1 and they win last night. And as I look at that Clippers series for a moment, Shannon, and I see it at 3-2, I'm thinking about your Dallas Mavericks. Again, a similar progression in the series. Mavericks were up 2-0 in the opening round against the Clippers. Clippers come back and I believe won the next 2. And then it was 3-2 Mavs. And that's when I believed, all right, Mavericks just have to win one, and one of them will be at home for the Mavericks, and they play with house money. It's similar, it's flipped because Phoenix started the series with home court advantage. Mavericks did not in the opening round against the Clippers, but it's 3-2 Phoenix right now. Wednesday night, Clippers at home at Staples Center to try to make it 3-3 and force a 7th game. But similar in that at this 3-2 mark, we know Phoenix will have one game at home to try to win the darn thing, assuming they don't win Wednesday night at Staples Center. But man, this you got to hand it to this Clippers team. I don't like them because of Kawhi, but they are resilient. They're not going away.
Yeah, we're gonna get to the end of this because I still think the Suns will win it, even if they do have to take it back home for a game 7. But once we get there and the Suns win, I'm like, you guys had to do Chris Paul like this, didn't you? You just had to stretch it out. His first finals appearance ever, and you just had to stretch it out. It's not nice.
No.
Let it go.
Well, and I hope you're right. I hope Phoenix prevails. And if I had to bet right now, I would. But if playoff P Paul George continues to play the way he played last night on the road, again, a career playoff high for Paul George, 41 points. He had a double-double. He also had 13 rebounds. He had 6 assists and 3 steals. And Paul George, I can take him or leave him, but and he's been inconsistent throughout these playoffs and pretty much inconsistent throughout his career. Yeah, if you want to, Indiana, Oklahoma City, now the Clippers. He can put up these huge numbers and then disappear in the next game. So we will see how that works out. And before we go to break, and coming up a really cool high five play of the day. But Shannon, just quickly, and we would have been watching the College World Series last night, and we would have been crazy excited about it if the Longhorns were there. But Vanderbilt scores 7 runs in the first inning against Mississippi State. That was pretty much all they needed. They coasted to an 8-2 opening championship series. It's 2 out of 3 in the College World Series win over Mississippi State. 8-2 Vanderbilt over Mississippi State. One more win and they can repeat as College World Series champions. Did you watch it all? Did you care now that the Longhorns are out of it?
Nope, didn't even know it was on last night.
I don't blame you. I was when I heard it was 7-0 first inning, I was like, all right, Vanderbilt's going to win, barring some kind of miracle. Oh, and I was going to text you. There was another rain delay. It was delayed again. It did not start on time. There was a rain delay.
So, what time did it actually start?
I'm not sure when it started. I just know I was about to turn it on, and I turn it on. Rain delay. It's like, wow, really?
Oh yeah, happen.
Yeah. All right. Dave Ayler is our soundscape stylist. We will meet him in a moment. He is he's not alone there. You can't see on video, but he's hanging out with Felix. So Felix, who has come to us from another radio company, could be doing the Dave Ayler bit here pretty soon. Because Dave Ayler's such a good morning, Dave. Since we got you on video, we should say hello. How are you? And I'm not hearing you.
I don't hear you.
How about now?
Now I hear you.
Okay.
There you go. Wearing your St. Louis Cardinals t-shirt.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to train somebody and maybe I need to be trained.
No, you're doing this is what not to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Very good. Hopefully the Cardinals are doing better than the Astros. Astros won those 11 in a row, so they're fine. They still, I think last time I checked, had about a two-game lead in the AL West. But Astros lose again last night at home, 9-7 to Houston. 9-7 to Baltimore. The Orioles, Astros have lost 3 out of 4. Cardinals have been kind of floundering around 500. Dave, how are they doing?
They won last night, but other than that, they haven't been playing very well. You said about right around 500. I think they're about 7 games out of first place, something like that.
Hopefully they'll get it together for your sake.
Yeah, they need to get some pitching badly.
All right. Coming up, we have a very cool and I think unlikely high five play of the day, but you're gonna want to hear it a little bit later. Shannon's salty shakedown this day in sports history, sports birthdays. We'll talk Dallas Cowboys and more in the 8:00 hour with Tanner Carlson. You're always welcome to join us. You can either dial us up on the phone lines, 800-707-9760, or join us on our video feed. Lots of ways you can get to that. You can get to it via Facebook if you choose. We stream live video on AM 1300 The Zone and Ticket 760's Facebook pages, but you can get there as well through YouTube. There is a Twitch portal as well. We'll see what everybody's yapping about on Facebook Live as we roll forward. So much going on. Scottie Pippen, Wimbledon underway, an American with a big upset. We'll talk about that as well. Lots going on in the world of sports. She's Shannon Salty Sweeney. I'm Chris. We're with you till 9. Thanks for hanging out with us on the Chris Duel Show. Hector Gomez, Jason Garcia, Tracy Bogert, Ralph Balderas, Foamfoot 420, Luisa Alanis, Chris Gonzalez, welcome. I've got to record some spots, so just to let you know, I'm going to try to bang some out right here. All right, I've got to record spots, which is all kinds of fun. Jorge, I can't believe the Astros lose again to that horrible Orioles team. Yeah, I know. So they've lost 3 out of 4, but you add in the 11 in a row that they won. So they are 12-3 over their last 15. Granted, the 3 out of 4 is not good. But Hopefully they play again tonight at home at Minute Maid Park against Baltimore. Hopefully they will win that. I've got to record some spots. I always I always go back and forth as to whether or not I should cut my audio so you guys don't have to endure my sometimes mind-numbing starting and stopping and recording spots. Let's see, I got to record this in stereo. But I may subject you to this. I need to lower that. These are 60-second spots. And this is QC Kinetics. So it's more than 60 seconds of copy. So for me to try to get this in 60 seconds, I need a motor. I need like 3 of these. So I got to record 3 of these. So if this drives you crazy, lower the volume for a moment. Let's see. Here we go. Oh, what's going on there? What is pain keeping you from doing this summer? Exercising like you want to, hanging out with the kids or the grandkids? Well, no more thanks to QC Kinetics and new long-term solutions for pain relief. Chris Duel here. The natural biologic treatments at QC Kinetics address the root cause of pain in your knees, shoulders, hip, or back. Don't spend one more day in pain. Call QC Kinetics today and get started on the road to recovery. The biggest regret for QC Kinetics patients is that they didn't start their treatments and feel better sooner. Treatments take place in the office same day, no downtime. Call now and learn more about these regenerative alternatives. 210-571-0318. Refuse to spend one more day in pain. QC Kinetics makes it possible. In Hollywood Park and Westover Hills, 571-0318. That's 571-0318. QC Kinetics. You can feel better and feel better quickly with QC Kinetics. There's one. I need 2 more. Four seconds. Think about this. What is pain keeping you from doing this summer? Exercising like you used to? Keeping up with the kids or the grandkids? Well, no more thanks to QC Kinetics and new long-term solutions for pain relief. Chris Duel here. The natural biologic treatments at QC Kinetics addresses the root cause of pain in your knees, shoulders, hip, or back. Don't spend one more day in pain. Call QC Kinetics today and get started on the road to recovery. The biggest regret for QC Kinetics patients is that they didn't start their treatments sooner and feel better sooner. Treatments take place in the office on the same day, no downtime. Call now to learn more about these regenerative alternatives. 210-571-0318. Refuse to spend one more day in pain. QC Kinetics makes it possible. In Hollywood Park and Westover Hills, 571-0318. That's 571-0318. QC Kinetics. Screwed that one up. One more. I got to read it so fast it becomes a tongue twister sometimes and I screw it up like I just did. Thank God for editing. What is keeping you? I screwed that up again. What is pain keeping you from doing this summer? Exercising like you'd like to, getting outdoors, hanging out with the kids or the grandkids? Well, no more thanks to QC Kinetics and new long-term solutions for pain relief. Chris Duel here. The natural biologic treatments at QC Kinetics address the root cause of pain in your knees. One more. Am I going to run out of time on this? I might. Yeah, I'm going to have to do it next segment. Took too long. Thank you, Tracy. You're very delusional, and I appreciate that. Good morning, Clint Proctor. Tracy says the team I despise the most, the New York Yankees, are in fourth place in their own division. Yeah, especially with that dirtbag Garrett Cole leaving the Astros and going to the Yankees. All right, I got to do one more of those. Next break I get. Okay. Now. Welcome in on a Taco Tuesday, the final Taco Tuesday of June 2021. It is the Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney. Dave Ayler making the show go. He is your soundscape stylist. Coming up in the next half hour, and we want you to hear his words. It's one thing for Shannon, for me to talk about Scottie Pippen. I want you to hear his words, and we got kind of an extended chunk. Not that, it's less than 3 minutes. I think it's 2 minutes and 52 seconds of Scottie Pippen on the Dan Patrick Show yesterday, which was following our show. So this is the first opportunity for Shannon and for me to react with you to it on the air. But you can kind of hear Scottie Pippen proclaim a few things, including that Phil Jackson is racist, and he gives his reason why. So you kind of can get a sense of the logic or lack thereof that Scottie Pippen is applying to Phil Jackson. And we will get into that. It's interesting. The 10-part Michael Jordan documentary, The Last Dance. I missed the sequence. I missed the chunk of that documentary where Michael talks about that racist head coach of the Bulls back in that era, Phil Jackson. I have a feeling Michael Jordan might have noticed that, and they had 10 hours to cover it. And I guess maybe if the 10 episodes, some of those were longer than an hour. So maybe if there were 11 parts, maybe they would have gotten to that, or maybe that's part of the sequel. I don't know. All right. It is time. We like to do this after talking about something negative, the allegations of Scottie Pippen. Let's cleanse the palate quite a bit, in fact, with some good news. We like to do this at this time every morning. It is the high five play of the day, because somebody is deserving of a high five in the world of sports. And high five, not just the name appropriately of this segment, but it's also the name of a cool venue, actually two cool venues in the Austin area that Shannon is very, very familiar with. And Shannon, tell the people about how high five up in the Austin area.
Yes, two venues, one out in Lakeway, one on Anderson in Central Austin. I do hear that they are looking to make some pretty big expansion moves coming soon. So be on the lookout, San Antonio, because I would not be surprised
Please.
if you get your very own high five. And on Tuesdays, $2 tacos, $2 draft beer,
Beautiful.
$2 laser tag. Are you kidding me? I'm there on a Tuesday.
Yes.
Especially, I don't know about you, Chris, but it was raining so hard when I came in this morning.
Yeah.
Dangerously raining. I don't know what you call it when the brake system kicks in because of the water. So you must get that. Happened to me so many times on the way in. So on a rainy day, it's a fantastic place to be, especially for watching sports like the finals game between the Hawks and the Bucks that we have tonight. All right, Chris, you sent this one in this morning. I think it's pretty fantastic. A wrong made right, even if it is 60 years later. But Gwen Goldman served as Batgirl for the New York Yankees, fulfilling a 60-year-old dream. Chris, she sent a letter in requesting to be the Batgirl many, many years ago, to which she was given the response that basically, I mean, in short, it's a man's world.
Yeah, you're
Although
a girl.
You'd be pretty on the field, because it said that. Although you would be attractive, you wouldn't be comfortable with the men in the dugout there. And Chris, she finally got her opportunity to be Batgirl, which I don't know. I guess I'm not that tuned into baseball to know that to be a bat person. I thought that was like a job someone had year round. I guess you can apply.
I always assumed as well, that the Bat Boy was a year-round position with the club, but I guess in this case it was an honorary. She wrote a letter to the Yankees, Shannon, when she was 10, and she's 60 years old. Excuse me, she's 70 years old now. It's 60 years later. She's now 70. She wrote the letter on June 23rd, 1961. So her daughter, Abby Goldman, sent the letter to Yankees current general manager Brian Cashman, and she dated her letter June 23rd, same day, 2021, 60 years later. And kudos. And again, I'm not a big Yankees fan. In fact, we were just talking crap about them on Facebook Live during the break on video. But Brian Cashman and the Yankees organization did the right thing. How freaking cool that this 70-year-old woman, Gwen Goldman, was out there last night as Batgirl at the age of 70, 60 years after she had the dream dashed by Yankee management. I love this story.
You mentioned Cashman. He was quoted saying, "Some dreams take longer than they should to be realized, but goal attained should not dim with the passage of time. I have a daughter myself, and it is my sincere hope that every little girl will be given the opportunity to follow her aspirations into the future. Good on you, Mr.
Woo!
Captain. Good on you, Yankees. And congratulations to Miss Goldman for realizing that dream.
I love it. It is so cool. And, Shannon, you and I, as media types, you were just out at Q2 Stadium not long ago. We're lucky occasionally, because of a media credential or whatever, we're able to be down on the field or on the court or whatever the case may be, depending on the sport, baseball, basketball, football, whatever, soccer, in the case of Austin FC. And it is such a cool, and I still, sometimes I've got to pinch myself that I'm so lucky. And occasionally, a fan, like with a promotion or something at a Spurs game or Austin FC or a Mavericks game up in Dallas, occasionally you'll get lucky and get to go down on the court and participate in a promotion or something. Or, on an off day, maybe tour the stadium. That must have been so much fun. Granted, it wasn't the original Yankee Stadium, and it wasn't the same Yankee Stadium of 60 years ago when 10-year-old Gwen Goldman wrote the Yankees wanting to be a bat girl. But it's just, gosh, it's got to be such a great feeling. And I love that you grant this wish of a 70-year-old woman, 60 years later. That's, we do a high five play of the day every weekday at this time. If at the end of the week we had to pick the one that was the best, I mean, this one's going to be hard to beat. As a sports fan, I just think this is so cool. I love that we live in an era now. Here you and I have been on Becky Hammon watch as to whether or not she's going to make history as the first woman to get a gig as a head coach in the NBA. I just love as well that this is a 70-year-old woman. I mean, it would be cool if it was a 70-year-old guy getting to be bat boy 60 years after he was turned down, but you add in gender here. And the reason she didn't get a chance was because she was a little girl at age 10, that we now live in a 21st century where we're making strides, and teams like the Yankees and culture in general is realizing the ridiculousness of gender inequality. And this is just so cool. I love it.
Yeah, I would also argue that getting that opportunity now versus back then. I mean, look at all the extra attention. Look how many more fans are in the stands. Look at the TV broadcasting. I mean, it almost feels like a bigger world.
Yes,
doing it now than it would have then, and she could really fully appreciate it.
Yeah,
right. Because I think back to we used to be able to go out on the field at DKR all the time. You never thought anything of it. And I was also a kid, so it didn't really impact me in any way. And then a couple years ago with a side pass from work, I'm standing there and I'm like, wow, a lot of people really want to be standing where I'm standing right now.
Yeah.
Can I see the game very well? No. There's a lot of tall people in front of me. But it's really cool that I'm here.
Yeah.
There's it's really awesome. I very much agree.
Yeah, there's something about, and again, I go back to when I was a kid at the Hemisphere Arena in San Antonio during Spurs games, and times were different. We would buy the cheapest seats at the Hemisphere Arena and walk on down, and there'd be some empty seats really close to the court, sometimes front row, sometimes on the court, where you're sitting in your seat and your feet are on the court. And I just remember as a kid, it's like, oh my God, I am standing on the court where the Spurs are going to play Julius Erving and the New York Nets tonight. And it was just so cool. Whereas today, and you mentioned this about DKR, times have changed. Access is much more different. Security is more of an issue now than it was 60 years ago for Gwen Goldman and the New York Yankees, and 40 years ago for the San Antonio Spurs at the Hemisphere Arena. So it's harder, if not impossible, unless you have a front row seat or access somehow to get down there on the court or on the field in baseball or football. And it is, if you're a sports fan, and pretty much anybody listening right now, because it's sports talk radio, is a sports fan, you get little things like that, like being down on the field or the court. We appreciate it, and it's just a cool, euphoric feeling that if you get a shot at it, you need to do it because it's so much fun.
Yeah. The only thing is that as a member of the media, you're not allowed to geek out when you experience those things.
Or
Even when you go to a press box before a game, the announcer comes on and said, no cheering.
Right.
You'll be thrown out. So I usually end up leaving at some point because I can't hold my tongue. One way or the other, good or bad.
Yeah, I'll never forget. And again, back to the Spurs, they were on a playoff run at the Target Center in Minneapolis, and we went on the playoff run with them. Gosh, this would have been, Tim Duncan era, one of their championship runs. So early 2000s. And Charlie Parker, who now does news in San Antonio on 1200 WOAI, he and I got thrown out of the press box. There was a press area and a press box at the Target Center in Minneapolis because we were like, the Spurs would score, and it was the playoffs. So we were intense. And the Spurs and we're like, yes! And we're like high-fiving, and that lasted about 7 minutes. We got all these death looks from local Minneapolis media who hated us, and they quickly informed security and the communication staff of the Minnesota Timberwolves, and we were kindly / not so kindly asked to leave. And we were just fine with it because at that time you couldn't drink beer in the press box. I don't know what the deal is now. But yeah, we went out and we sat in civilian seats. We ordered beer and we enjoyed the game. We were supposed to enjoy the game the way we were supposed to enjoy the game, with multiple ice cold beers.
You make an excellent point on the alcohol. I have left the press box at halftime to go enjoy myself a little bit more, or done so before, or yes, I agree, because I know it's not served up there. It's usually sodas and water and tea, but I agree it's much more enjoyable to express yourself, especially as a fan of the team, because I know a lot of reporters generally, and again, that's what makes you and I so lucky. I know a lot of reporters generally, they grow up, they want to become journalists, they want to become sports journalists, and then they get assigned to a team, and that's the team they stick with. And the growth for them is to go up to the teams that are typically in the conversation, right, for the championships every year, because they get the most views and the most clicks and the most interest. Whereas you and I, you grew up a Spurs fan, I grew up a Longhorns fan, that when we get put in these positions, we have to maintain ourselves.
Yeah.
No, I'm a professional today. I'm not wearing this Texas shirt because I'm a fan.
Yeah.
I'm not. It's just half my wardrobe, and it's laundry day. That's my excuse.
There you go. No, and that is really cool. You, huge Longhorn fan and alum, and a lot of what you do is cover the Longhorns, and you get paid for it. And same thing. And well, okay, we're in radio, but yeah, sort of part hobby, part stipend, sure. Sort of. But yeah, and same deal for me. I get to work on the Spurs broadcasts on radio with Bill Schoening. And yeah, a lot of people, they come from another city. It's like, I'm from, Columbus, Ohio, and I'm in Austin, and I cover the Longhorns now. It's like, really? Shouldn't you be covering Ohio State and Columbus? So, yeah. All right. Yeah, we're lucky. All right. Are we lucky to be hearing from Scottie Pippen? We will not only answer that question. And again, one of our poll choices is Scottie Pippen correct? Maybe he's right and we just didn't know.
People are voting yes.
Phil Jackson was a racist. So, okay, convince me. Will Scottie Pippen convince you? We will hear from Scottie himself. Coming up, we'll run some audio. Scottie Pippen yesterday was on the Dan Patrick Show, which follows us. We're the opening act for Dan Patrick is what we are. So we'll listen. We'll react, and you can react with us. You can dial us up on the phone line. And if you agree with Scottie Pippen, tell us why. 800-707-9760. You can also join us for the video feed. Video feed available a number of ways, including AM 1300 The Zone and Ticket 760's Facebook pages. You can get there that way, or YouTube or Twitch. Coming up, Scottie Pippen. Is he making sense? You be the judge. Next, she's Shannon. I'm Chris. It's the Chris Duel Show. Good morning, Beth Settle. Welcome in. You're up early. Good morning, Fonzie J. Rodriguez, Jesse Bratton, and Lucinda Sullivan. Fonzie, I saw on Facebook, you tagged me on some original Tommy's, I believe, chili cheese fries to go. My God. Not only, a lot of people think my favorite burger is In-N-Out Burger. My favorite burger ever is the original Tommy's, ideally Rampart and Beverly, about 6 miles away from USC, in a very dangerous neighborhood. Wear a flak jacket if you go. You may get shot these days. But not only is the original Tommy's burger spectacular and heavenly and the greatest burger on the face of this earth, they've got these chili cheese fries that are to die for. Big, thick fries, slathered in chili, melted cheese, onions, and often I think they put a big old tomato on top. And my God, they're so good. So good. That's right. I developed my weight problem at USC 4 nights a week, sometimes more, making like midnight, and they're open 24 hours, midnight or 2 a.m. runs to Tommy's for chili cheeseburgers and chili cheese fries. Delicioso. All right. I'm out of Black Rifle coffee, but I do thank Joel Colon for the Black Rifle coffee, and Lucinda with a coffee emoji. So, as you know, I bring my own coffee in because the coffee here tastes like soap. It tastes like soap. I don't want to drink coffee that tastes like soap. Woo! 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 Jason Paniagua says, I have a weight problem. I can't wait to eat. I know, man. Then you get to be my age. Get off my lawn, kids. And your metabolism slows down. So I look at a Tommy's burger and I gain about 5 pounds. All right. Back in 90 seconds. Yeah. Fonzie J. Rodriguez joins us from Southern California. For you non-California types, if you ever go to the West Coast, you ever go to Southern California, LA area, Tommy, the original Tommies, there are knockoff Tommies that are not the real Tommies. Some will like spell and like have the same color scheme with red font and have like TOMYS instead of two M's. You need the original Tommies. And you don't have to go to the original location at Rampart and Beverly. It's a rough neighborhood. There's gang activity and gunplay. But you can go to other locations. Just go to an original Tommy's. Their chili cheeseburger. If I was on death row, and we'll see how it works out. Final meal could be the original Tommy's. Be kind of hard to bring that from Southern California. I'm assuming I would be on death row in Huntsville. I'm sure my death sentence would not be commuted by Governor Greg Abbott. In fact, it might be expedited. But if there were a way, final meal, unless it were Chewy's classic Tex-Mex enchilada plate with the chips and the Fresca with the crack in it. I know they put crack in that Fresca. I know. I've never done crack to my knowledge, but I think it's in the Fresca salsa at Chewy's because I can't stop eating it. I just can't stop. I can't stop. Crack. So you're good on the Scottie Pippen audio? Beautiful. Thank you. Cool, man. Sam, are there Tommy's restaurants in San Antonio? I'm unfamiliar with them, I think. Here we come. 7 o'clock hour.
This is the Chris Duel Show. Now, Chris Duel.
It is Taco Tuesday, June 29th, the final Taco Tuesday of the month of June. As on Thursday, we will embark upon the month of July and we inch closer to the 4th of July weekend. I like to let Jim Morrison and the Doors finish the opening theme music. Welcome in. It's the Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney. So much going on in the world of sports, and we are all over it as we should be. Lots of NBA action. Last night, the LA Clippers making like the Terminator. I always say they're like Arnold Schwarzenegger in the Terminator movies. You think they're dead. You think the movie's over. Nope. They're still alive. The movie's not over. They're coming back to kill you even further. They beat the Phoenix Suns last night in Phoenix, 116-102. Phoenix's lead is now cut to 3-2. Playoff P, as he has proclaimed he is. Paul George gave himself that nickname, Playoff P. We have mocked him for it, and rightfully, but not last night. Paul George, 41 points, 13 rebounds, a double-double. That 41 points, a career playoff high for Playoff P, Paul George. They will meet again in Los Angeles at Staples Center Wednesday night, and the Clippers will try to force a 7th game. Tonight, Trae Young, all eyes on him as he's dealing with the bone bruise and the ankle. Atlanta Hawks host the Milwaukee Bucks. Bucks lead 2-1 in that series. And Shannon, in a moment, we will hear some audio from the show that follows us, the Dan Patrick Show. Yesterday, Scottie Pippen, who you and I have found ourselves talking about ever since he gave that interview to GQ magazine. And part of the reason he gave that interview to GQ magazine was to pimp his bourbon that he's selling. But what we're about to hear, Shannon, is the kind of the logic behind, or lack thereof, the logic behind Scottie Pippen and some of the allegations he makes, including, and the biggest one I think is that Phil Jackson is racist. And when you put Tony Kukoc into the game, or they were both going into the game, it was a late play designed that did not go to Scottie Pippen the first year Michael Jordan was away from the Bulls and went to play baseball. And here's the other thing, Shannon, that people forget, or maybe that Scottie Pippen forgets. The play worked. He hit the basket and the Bulls won that game. Sometimes you have a decoy. Sometimes you don't throw it to the obvious dude. I mean, famously, LeBron James doesn't take all the game winners. He's a distributor. Sometimes he'll get the ball and throw to an open dude, and that open dude will get the chance to make the basket. It's so weird, and we're going to hear it firsthand here in just a moment.
Like I said, we don't know where any of this is coming from, and it seems if you follow him on Twitter that he's not taking the blame for anything that he's said. He's basically saying he was coaxed into saying it, because he tweeted yesterday, "I'm just answering the questions y'all asking me. You wanted the headlines, you got them. Dig deeper to find out why I actually said what I said instead of framing your questions to get clicks. It's all love."
Wow. And I'm sure Scottie Pippen's not looking for clicks at all here in hurling these grenades.
You have to answer the question, bro.
Yeah.
That's what you have a publicist for.
All right. Well, let's listen in. This is less than 3 minutes. It's about 2 minutes and 52 seconds. And you can kind of get a sense of what issues Scottie Pippen has and why he has come to these conclusions. less than 24 hours ago. This was yesterday's show following us. Scottie Pippen on the Dan Patrick Show. Scottie and Dan right here.
Help me understand the GQ article where you talked about the 1994 playoff game when you refused to go back in the game and Phil set up the play for Tony Kukoc.
Oh, I mean, there's not much to be said if you go back and look at when Scottie Pippen entered the Bulls and when Tony Kukoc entered the Bulls. Who deserved the last shot of the game?
No, I understand that, Scottie. I'm just going by what you said. You said you need to read between the fine lines. And then you go on to say it was a racial move to give him, Tony Kukoc, a rod.
So, I mean, if you knew that Scottie Pippen had been with the Bulls from 87, battled through the Pistons, and every other team that we had to get to those 3 championships, wouldn't you give Scottie Pippen one opportunity to get a last-second shot without Michael Jordan? Like, 1 year without Michael Jordan. Can I get one shot? Like, I'm doing all the dirty work.
But all of that I understand from the basketball standpoint. But when you say a racial move,
well, why would Tony, who was a rookie, get the last-second shot and you put me up of bounds? That's what I mean, racial. Like, that was Scottie Pippen's team.
but
Scottie
Phil
Pippen
had
was on pace to be an MVP that year, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, why would you put him in a position not to be successful? Why wouldn't you put him in a position to succeed? Michael Jordan is not there. So who's next in line for you?
But have you talked to Phil about this? Because by saying a racial move, then you're calling Phil a racist.
I ain't got a problem with that.
Do you think Phil was or is?
Oh, yeah. I mean, do you remember Phil Jackson left the Lakers, wrote a book on Kobe Bryant, and then came back and coached him? I mean, who would do that? You name someone in professional sports that would do that. You know? I think he got to expose Kobe in a way that he shouldn't have. You're the head coach, and you're the guy that sits in the locker room and tells the players, this is a circle, and everything stays within the circle, because that's what team is about. But you as the head coach, open it up. And now you go out and you try to belittle, at that time, probably one of the greatest players in the game.
Well, it feels like he's disloyal. I don't know if that makes him a racist.
Well, that's your way of putting it out, and I have my way. I was in the locker room with him. I was in practices with him. You're looking for him afar.
Scottie Pippen talking about Phil Jackson and accusing him of being racist on the Dan Patrick Show with Dan Patrick yesterday. And you can hear the Dan Patrick Show following us both on AM 1300 The Zone and on Ticket 760. Shannon, a lot to unpack there. And I, before I get your reaction, I just want to underscore, yes, racism is a problem. Yes, racism is reprehensible. Yes, racism should be called out and there should be a light shined on it wherever it does exist. But I think when you play the race card and you call a guy like Phil Jackson a racist for these reasons, and this is how you back it up, I think you do a disservice to those who are fighting against racism in our culture. Shannon, I'll just let you react to what you just heard.
Well, to go off of what you just said, I didn't really even hear like backup. It was just kind of from his perspective, and that's fine. It doesn't make it invalid. But in this cancel culture, people going after each other off of a headline, you can't say something like that and not expect some sort of adverse reaction, because and for a guy that is nowhere near the needs to be in the discussion. And then I can't get over him referring to himself in third person the entire time. If we didn't preface this, would we have known that that was Scottie Pippen talking, or just somebody talking about Scottie Pippen? And he kept referencing like, well, Michael isn't here this year, I'm next in line. Like, okay, well, sometimes the coaches use the strategy of everyone is expecting you.
Yeah.
Why not give him the unexpected? And I just, he says he's giving his reasons. I don't hear any really hard evidence reasons. And again, like some sort of chip on his shoulder that I don't know, maybe he's had it all along and something just finally like knocked it over and it all came crumbling. Like Scottie Pippen is upset about something, and I don't think it's just the questions he's getting. I have no idea what's going on with this man.
Now you could make the case, and if all of this would have been him in it, I still would have had a few issues with it. But you can make the case Phil Jackson dissed me. I mean, you
Yeah,
remove
that.
race from this. It's like, hey man, this is the first year Michael was out. This was a key situation. This was playoffs. Michael always got the shot if he wanted it. I
Mhm.
should have gotten. Yeah, you can make that shot. Yeah, you were an MVP caliber player that year. I mean, make all of those cases and just remove racism and using this to justify your saying that Phil Jackson was racist. But also, I want to say this, Shannon. I remember a key shot from Steve Kerr when Michael Jordan was, I think it was to a game winner and a series winner against the Utah Jazz, where Michael gives up the ball and the play was for Steve Kerr, and Steve Kerr hit the shot. So, I mean, in The Last Dance, I didn't see Michael whining that A, Kerr got that shot, or B, that was racist to give white Steve Kerr that shot when Michael Jordan deserved to take that shot. It's just, it's so weird. It's so bizarre. This is, we talk about sports and everything around sports day in, day out. This is one of the weirdest exchanges I have ever heard from a very high profile guy. I mean, he made the all-time top 50 players in NBA history list. I mean, he's a big dude. He's important. He's got an important place in NBA and sports history. And here he is, making ridiculous allegations, in my view.
The one thing we love about sports is that it's a coming together of all cultures and people and practices. And there's one common objective, which is to win your game. And I don't think Phil Jackson would be putting the hands or the ball into someone's hands who he didn't feel like was capable of winning the game just because of the color of his skin. I just don't see that. You're wearing the same uniform, right? They don't see anything else.
Yeah.
You're either on your team or they're not. There's no team within the team. At least there shouldn't be. And that feels like that's what Scottie felt like there was during that time. But
And
I don't
again,
know how valid that is.
Yeah. And again, we've not heard any of these allegations from Michael Jordan or any other African-American players on the Bulls teams. Then you go to the Lakers and you had Shaq and Kobe. And it was interesting there that Pippen brought up Kobe and said, Phil wrote a book about him. And then that was racist to undermine Kobe in that way, because what happens, and it's what interesting as well, what happens in the locker room stays in the locker room. This is a circle. That's not true either. In retro, when someone writes a book, or in Michael Jordan's case, the 10-part documentary, The Last Dance, Michael did a lot of speaking out of school.
Room.
Yes.
Circle within the circle. That's the circle on the court, not the world. And you mentioned, the other players that we haven't ever heard anything from. It's not like Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, or Shaq are soft-spoken dudes.
No.
They have no problem saying what they feel or what they think.
I
think he's just on one.
Yeah.
Mr. Pippen.
But in your one of your theories, and I think it's a very good theory, he's trying to sell this bourbon. It's his bourbon. His name's on it. And so he did this interview with GQ magazine, made a lot of noise. He did a lot of criticizing. And then he went after Kevin Durant, and Kevin Durant went right back after him and kind of slapped him right back down. But I mean, if this is the way, and maybe somebody's advising him, but if you're paying a PR person or a team of PR people or social media people to advise you, I mean, so many other ways you could go about this, just reminding people who you are. I'm Scottie Pippen, and going on, people would love to talk to Scottie Pippen. People would love, Dan Patrick would love to talk about what was your reaction to The Last Dance. Let's talk about the Bulls, and let's talk about the current playoff run. I mean, people love when a big time athlete who's been there. And in the case of Scottie Pippen, was the right-hand man to Michael Jordan to win those 6 NBA championships. We want your perspective not only on then, but on now, on this current NBA playoff run. And he could do it in such a way where he's not attacking people and he'd still be making a lot of noise. Because, what happens after the bourbon either fails or succeeds? As I told you, Shannon, my personal opinion of Scottie Pippen, whereas before it was like, very good player, the Robin to Michael Jordan's Batman, a big part of the Bulls winning those championships, to now it's like, man, what is wrong with Scottie Pippen? And I must admit, I don't like the Scottie Pippen I'm hearing that much anymore these days.
Yeah, people are still buying Jordan jerseys, and there are some people who still buy Pippen jerseys, but you are in the case for people buying your bourbon, you are lessening your stock elsewhere, and it's happening very quickly. Just in the last week, I don't know what this is going to end up doing to his legacy. Even though he's not on the court, I think with the bridges he's burning with people that are associated with basketball and the NBA, it's just not a good look, dude. After the tweet I read to you, you keep scrolling. The tweet prior to that is him holding his Olympic medals, and he's like, the Olympics, it brings me back. He's reminiscing. And it's like, dude, no one cares about that right now.
Yeah. Tonight's game is on TNT. I'm thinking about Shaq, Shannon. Shaq obviously has a relationship with Phil Jackson. Kobe no longer with us, tragically and sadly. And obviously Michael Jordan, another high-profile guy, the relationship with Phil Jackson. I haven't heard yet Shaq react to this, but this is such a big story. I woke up this morning and was listening to national radio, and this was the story. This is what they were talking about. I'm sure this is appearing on Shaquille O'Neal's radar. I want to, and if you're Shaq or any player, but certainly Shaq, because he's got a platform on that TNT panel, and you played for Phil Jackson, it's like if someone said to, if someone was going around in the media saying Shannon Sweeney, she's a racist. Now, as someone who works with you, I would grab a microphone and say, are you out of your mind? Yeah, she is the most non-racist person I've known. And 30 years from now, I'm assuming we won't be doing this show in 30 years. I'll probably be dead, Shannon, but you may still be doing the show. You'll be alive and young still in 30 years. But 30 years from now, if someone, and you and I were no longer working together, and someone goes, man, that Shannon Sweeney, I used to listen to her on the radio. She's so racist. Are you out of your mind? That's ridiculous. I worked with her day in, day out. There's not a racist bone in her body. I got to believe Shaq is going to say that. And I know Shaq's a little moody, and maybe he does have issues with Phil Jackson because it got a little bitter there with Shaq and Kobe and Phil when Shaq ultimately left the Lakers. But, when someone you have worked with and someone you have gone to battle with is called something as reprehensible as a racist, I would imagine people who know Phil Jackson are going to speak out. I'm going to be very interested to watch the panel tonight at halftime and after the game. Might have to DVR it after the game, actually. You and I wake up early. But certainly I'll be there at halftime, see if Shaquille O'Neal has anything to say about Pippen's comments on Phil Jackson.
Yeah, I think we were kind of expecting him to say something about Pippen in the last TNT broadcast. But you make an excellent point. Like at this point, now when he's saying these things about Phil Jackson, a guy who's loved and revered by many of his colleagues and former players, and even players that never played with him or for him, I can't imagine them not saying anything or coming to his defense at all.
Yeah, because this is even weirder now. Because Pippen made these comments, and you're right. We expected Shaq to say something, and then there was this interview with Dan Patrick yesterday that kind of it was a national platform to give Pippen a vehicle and an opportunity to explain why you're calling this revered coach. And I don't love the Zen Master that much, being a Spurs fan. I got some issues, but. A very successful, one of the most successful NBA coaches ever in Phil Jackson. So tonight on TNT because last night's game was on ESPN. Tonight's game, Milwaukee at Atlanta, is on TNT. So since Pippen went even further ballistic on this cause, this is the first opportunity for Shaq on his platform on the TNT panel to react to it. So that's going to be a little bit of must-see TV tonight. Milwaukee at Atlanta at 7:30. So maybe a little pregame, maybe halftime, and postgame. I expect we'll hear something from Shaq, and I think it's only right that Shaq either stands up for his former boss, Phil Jackson, or shocks the world and goes, you know what? Scotty's onto something, which I don't expect that to happen. All right, coming up. Can the salty shakedown get any saltier? We're about to find out. It is Shannon's salty shakedown. Before that, though, in the next segment, sports history and sports birthdays. Shannon, somebody's having a birthday today. And let's just say I haven't bought him a birthday card. Let's just say I haven't gotten him a birthday present. Let's just say if I knew where he lived, the birthday present might be in a paper sack and there might be a fire that he'd have to come out to his front porch and stomp out. I'm just saying, I've got issues with one of our birthday boys today. That's coming up. She is Shannon Salty Sweeney. Dave Ayler wearing his St. Louis Cardinals baseball t-shirt, making the show go. I'm Chris. Tanner Carlson talking a little NFL football and more in the 8 o'clock hour with us. We're with you till 9 on the Chris Duel Show. Okay. Let me see here. I should record this final segment. Well, it's a commercial, not a segment, and it's not the final one because I got a bunch to do, but I'm going to probably bang it out. Let's see. Bernard Trefan says Pippen has a nickname, No Tipping Pippen, for not treating people well in the service industry. Bernard, I've always thought that was a way to kind of get a sense of a person. You know, how well they treat or how badly they treat, you know, people serving them in the service industry, such as a waiter or a waitress or a maid or a janitor. You know, when you don't treat other human beings with dignity because for whatever the reason you think you're in a better position in that moment, I got a problem with that. Okay. I might rapture you from having to listen to me do this again. I did this previously in the other segment. Xavier Moreno says Michael Jordan is going to drop Pippen like a bad habit, just like he did with Barkley. Armando Salinas, I like the alliteration there. He says, Pippen's trippin'. Well played, sir. All right. Now, for those of you who had to sit through two of these, one I really screwed up in the previous segment. I'm going to mute my mic and do this read. It'll take about 60 seconds. So you don't have to listen to this. It's a little, you don't need to hear me yapping, trying to read a commercial without screwing it up. Woo! Did it in one take. Shocker. Absolute shocker. All right, now all right, as I recall, I screwed this one up.
571-0318 QC Kinetics. Screwed that one up. One more. Okay, no downtime. Call now to learn more about these regenerative alternatives to Call now to learn more about Screwed that one. QC Kinetics. Screwed that one. Think about this. What is pain keeping you from doing this summer? And
Whoops. Come on. Chris Duel Show. That would be Dave Ayler providing your soundscape, doing a magnificent job as he always does. Shannon Salty Sweeney manning everything that is Austin. Or are you manning or you are womaning? That's a weird gender choice there. You're not manning you're womaning everything. I never thought about that before. Like manning the sports desk. No,
Is that word? Because I don't know the root of that word.
I don't know either.
Because English was not my best subject. I can barely speak
Now,
English.
now, it's not a Peyton. It's not Peyton Manning or Eli Manning or who's that Manning that came to Texas that may be the next quarterback? What's that dude's? Arch Manning. Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, I've heard like manning the microphone in Austin. No, she's a whoa manning the microphone in Austin. I have no idea.
Whatever.
I digress.
I run the whole office here.
Exactly.
Quiet on it.
True. Yeah, you need to find your way into finance. You need to find your way into, pay stubs so you can just get into the computer and add a couple of zeros to the salary.
Yeah.
Woo!
Unfortunately, I think that's now a work from home gig, so I'd have to find other information first.
Yeah, or find out whose home it is who does that, and then when they're out getting tacos on a Taco Tuesday, you could find your way in there. So it's a thought. All right. Shannon's Salty Shakedown is moments away. And as we do recommend, if you're in your car during the Salty Shakedown, both hands on the wheel, take a deep breath. If you have a mantra, chant your mantra. Because, you just want to, you don't want to freak out. So speaking of freaking out, the final birthday I mentioned, I won't be celebrating. You can probably figure out whose birthday it is. It's not Scottie Pippen's birthday, as far as I know. Before Shannon's Salty Shakedown and sports birthdays, first, let's go back in time. Let's climb into the DeLorean and go back in time with this day in sports history. Wonder how many DeLoreans are still out on the roads. Probably not that many. On this day in 1961, that would be June 29th, 1961. San Francisco Giants outfielder Willie Mays, say hey Willie Mays, becomes the fourth player in Major League Baseball history with 3 or more home runs twice in one season. He did it in the 10th inning of the Giants' 8-7 win over the Philadelphia Phillies in Philadelphia. That ain't bad. Fourth player to hit 3 or more home runs twice in a season. On this day in 1977, Willie Stargell of the Pittsburgh Pirates hits his 400th career home run. This day in 1984, Pete Rose played in a record 3,309th consecutive game, surpassing Carl Yastrzemski of the Boston Red Sox. Pete Rose played in all those games, had all those records, and yet Major League Baseball continues to punish him because he gambled on baseball as a manager. This day in 1990, the Oakland A's Dave Stewart no-hits the Toronto Blue Jays on the same day that the LA Dodgers' Fernando Valenzuela no-hits Dave Ayler's St. Louis Cardinals 6-0. It was the first time ever there was a no-hitter in both leagues on the same day. Dave Stewart in the American League for the A's, Fernando Valenzuela in the National League for the Dodgers. That's pretty cool. There you have it. June 29th, this day in sports history. How about some sports birthdays? Born on this day in 1936. One of my favorite names in sports. It's just a cool name. American baseball player, played for the Minnesota Twins, Harmon Killebrew. I just think that's a cool name. Harmon Killebrew. When he chugged a cerveza, I guess you could say he killed a brew. Harmon Killebrew. Born, I know I'm lame. Thank you. Just maybe if you drink at home, it'll sound better. Harmon Killebrew was born in Payette, Idaho. He died in 2011. I didn't know Harmon Killebrew was dead. Thanks for bringing me down. Harmon Killebrew, born on this day in 1936. Born on this day in 1949. I hated this guy as a player and as a color analyst. I just hated him. There's a lot of hatred going on in sports birthdays for me today. Born in 1949, Dan Deerdorf, who was an offensive lineman for Dave Ayler's St. Louis Cardinals, and then was a color analyst on Monday Night Football. He was just boring and droll and holier than that. I hated Dan Deerdorf. Sports hate. I mean, if I saw him on the street and he needed help, I'd help him. Dan Deerdorf was born in Canton, Ohio. No pressure there. I don't think It doesn't say here he's a Hall of Famer. He might have been. He was pretty good.
I think he is.
Is he a Hall of Famer?
I think so.
How about that? You're born in Canton, Ohio, where the Hall of Fame is, and then you get enshrined. He was good, so I take your word for it, Dave Ayler, but I still never liked him. He was no Conrad Dobler, who was a dirtbag offensive lineman, a dirty player for the St. Louis Cardinals. But I digress. Born on this day in 1964, another great name for football, Pepper Johnson. He played on those New York Giants championship teams under Bill Parcells. Later played for Bill Belichick at the Cleveland Browns when Belichick kind of sucked as a head coach there. Pepper Johnson, born in 1964 on this day in Detroit, Michigan. For NASCAR fans, born on this day in 1980, Martin Truex Jr., American auto racer, NASCAR racer, Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series champion in 2017. Martin Truex Jr. was born in Mayetta, New Jersey. And finally, Shannon, our final birthday today. I won't be sending him a card. I may get a voodoo doll and stick some pins in it. Born on this day in 1991, Kawhi Leonard. Happy birthday, Kawhi. You were born in 1991 on this day in Los Angeles, California. I hope you don't have a Tommy's burger because it's my favorite burger in LA, Kawhi. I hope you have a crappy birthday, Kawhi. I don't like you. I mean, I'm not supposed to be salty. That's Shannon's job.
What does a guy like Kawhi do on his birthday? A
Oh,
guy who looks like he's just always unhappy.
yeah. That's a great question.
I mean,
Can you see him in front of a birthday cake wearing like a birthday hat and family singing to him? I mean,
or better yet, he's at a restaurant and they all come out.
Yeah.
Like, with the forks and knives and a cup, and they're
Yeah.
making all the
Hey,
noise,
everybody.
drawing way too much attention.
happy birthday to you, Kawhi.
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday.
Yeah.
I have a running deal with it's a stipulation with my, don't do it to me and I won't do it to you. I hate, because I used to work in restaurants and I know if you're a waiter, you don't want to be there. You don't want to sing happy birthday to Chris or Kawhi. You've got tables to take. You hate it. And you're singing and smiling, but you're looking daggers into the eyes of birthday girl.
You got to think the people who are singing it hate it too.
Yeah,
They're
they
like,
hate it.
Another birthday.
Mm-hmm. They hate it and they hate you.
I haven't seen that happen as much, and this even before COVID. I feel like they don't do it as much.
Well,
I'm
good.
Okay with that.
I am okay with that too.
That's totally cool.
Woo! All right. So there you have it. Happy birthday, Kawhi. Not. That's sports birthdays and sports history. Here it is, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends, Romans, and countrymen. The moment you've been waiting for is here now. It's time for Shannon's Salty Shakedown.
I know it's summer. But it's not the dry sports season that we typically think it is. And part of that is because of COVID and the pushback, because we're now getting the Euros and the Olympics and the Copas all this summer instead of last summer. And right now the Euros are going on, and I've been catching a few games just because of the time difference. Some games have been on at work when I've come in, and then when I go home early, mid-afternoon, there they are. And Chris, these have been really interesting games so far. And I need to get your take on this because I know in soccer, you are one of the ones who finds it really frustrating when it ends in a tie, whether that's a 3-3 tie or a 0-0 tie. So I need to get your take now on own goals. I'm going to go through the history of the the Euro 2020 and the Euros before with you on own goals. 1976, there was only one. 96, only one. 2000, only one.
Good.
04, there were two. 12, there were one. 16, there were three.
Ooh.
The current Euros are currently going on, and we already have 9 own goals, Chris.
Oh, my God.
9 of them.
Are they on drugs?
And they usually give the golden boot to the person who scores the most goals. Well, Ronaldo has 5, but own goal has scored 9. It is insane. And it's in some games, the teams have been able to overcome it and end up winning, but a lot of them, the own goals kind of cemented a loss. It's crazy to think about. I don't know if as a fan of soccer, but also a sports fan, if it's, yay, there's goals being scored, or if you're like, this is awful. I mean, it's almost like a safety in football, right? They happen, but you don't game plan for them.
Right.
And so when it happens in soccer, I just don't know what it does for the sport. I don't know what it does for people like in Austin who are trying to get into soccer right now, and then they see this happening with the best in the world. We also have Ronaldo, Portugal, getting knocked out recently, and him throwing the armband on the ground and then kicking it because and then he said the next time and the last time he'll play for his team will be in the World Cup that will be coming up in the next few years. But Chris, 9 own goals in one tournament. If they could give the golden boot to quote unquote own goal, they probably would, because it's got 4 more goals than Ronaldo at this point.
That's brilliant of you to say own goal should get the golden boot. That's crazy. 9, you read the history and it's typically 1, 1, 0, 1, 9. And you equated it to a safety. It's a freaking goal. I mean, I would say it's like a pick six. It's crazy.
I'd say pick sixes happen a little more often though.
True. Yeah. Okay. There's that, but that's insane. So, and I haven't watched a lot of Euro, and they call it 2020 instead of 2021 because it was supposed to happen in 2020. Because I think it's un-American. How come we're not in? I know it's Euro, but come on. How come Team USA can't play?
They have their own tournament.
Yeah. Okay.
CONCACAF.
There you go. You're right, but
the Copa's going. So we've got that coming up.
So can the winner of each one though play each other? Can the winner of Euro play CONCACAF in the global championship?
I don't think they do that. I think the global one would be the World Cup, sir.
Okay, there you go. There is that.
But if for any of those who aren't as great or just as good as math as Chris and I, which isn't very, those numbers I read off of the previous own goals scored in the history of the tournament, there were 9 total, and now there are 9.
Wow.
In just this one, and it's still going on. So who knows? We could see a couple more before tournaments end. All right, moving over to American football. We heard about Tight End University a couple weeks ago, where George Kittle invited the top tight ends in all of the NFL to come hang out, have kind of a mini camp, and just kind of, trade knowledge of the trade that is being a tight end. A lot of it was talked about because Mr. Tim Tebow wasn't invited, and people were, and he even said, look, if we were to invite him, we'd have to invite second stringers and third stringers and other guys, because that wouldn't be fair to them just to have him come in because of his name and the position he's currently playing. So he was not invited, but Travis Kelce was, because he is a Super Bowl champion, and I don't know, usually my number 1, number 2 fantasy draft pick at that position, should he be available. And not only were they doing tight end and football related things, but they went out and they played a round of Top Golf, and apparently there was a competition to see who could knock it the furthest. Well, Travis Kelce did that with a 250-yarder. And by the way, anyone who's played Top Golf knows the balls don't measure past that, right? That's the furthest you can hit. And in doing so, and you'll enjoy this, Chris, Kansas City Chiefs get free Bud Light.
I love that.
Sponsorship with this event, and on National Tight Ends Day, Chris, which put it on Jeremy's calendar, October 24th, 10/24 is National Tight Ends Day, and that'll be the day Chiefs are going to be able to cash in and get that free Bud Light. However, we don't know the stipulations around it as of right now, so just if you're a Kansas City Chiefs fan, just put on your calendar. You will somehow be able to get free Bud Light on 10/24. Now, Chris, we talk about all the days, and there's too many of them. Why do we have a National Tight Ends Day?
And if we have a National Tight Ends Day, exactly, then do we have a National Centers Day? And does your buddy center of the Buffalo Bills get his own day as well? I mean, you can't have National Tight Ends Day and not have other positions.
Right. And I believe that's actually a Sunday this year.
Woo!
So do they take the day off?
And do you drink your Bud Light before the game?
Yeah, there's so many questions, but that's going on in the tight end world. Finally, we're going to jump to the Olympics. This came down yesterday, and I think it has a lot of people surprised, maybe a little upset, maybe a little angry, because even though the Kardashians have ended their 17-year or however long series on E! Following their life, keeping up with the Kardashians, they just won't go away, because it was announced that Kim K's loungewear line, they do undergarments as well, will provide loungewear and undergarments for Olympic athletes, Team USA in Tokyo. So now, along with Levi's and along with Ralph Lauren, they are an official outfitter for the Olympics. Some of the wear will include sports bras, shirts, vests, cycle shorts, high-waisted briefs, and more. Non-Olympians will be able to purchase some of these items beginning in July, but Skims Wear by Kim Kardashian, an official Olympic partner. I never thought I'd see the day. I know her stepfather for a minute was Bruce Jenner. I thought that was the only Olympic connection we would ever get.
Oh, God.
And now her clothing line is heading to the Olympics.
And I'm so slow. You probably got this immediately. The name of the company is Skims Wear, SKIM apostrophe. So that's for Kim Kardashian, Skims.
Well, originally she was going to call it, oh gosh, what it's like in Asian culture, kimonos. It was gonna
Okay.
be called something like kimono or something, and of course there was
Kimono.
backlash.
Yeah.
And so she changed it to what is now Skims.
Ugh.
I just, of all the, like, because I know Nike, and I guess they don't want to go with athletic apparel because some of those athletes have ties to Adidas, whatever. But of all of the, like, Victoria's Secret wasn't available. Like, they're trying to rebrand.
Yeah, they're now,
They
yeah.
Megan Rapinoe as one of their people. They don't have loungewear for Team USA. I don't know. It's just interesting. We'll see how many athletes actually use and wear that around the Olympic Village. But I guess congrats, Kim. Just more money and more fame for you for doing absolutely nothing to get you there. Today's salty shakedown.
Very salty, and you're making me salty on that one. And maybe I should have a better attitude, Shannon, but
Girl.
you mentioned the other brands that they're utilizing, Levi's and Ralph Lauren, which are long-time staples, decades old, venerated brands. And now we've got Skims Wear, which is Kim Kardashian's company, being utilized and making all this money from the Olympics. Oh, God, that's just it's a little sickening.
Name 3 Olympic sports, Kim.
Exactly. Thank you. Exactly.
Name an athlete going to the Olympics, Kim.
Well, she may have slept with a few, or no, but they're typically amateurs and they don't have a lot of cash yet. So unless how many NBA players has she slept with on Team USA? Yeah.
Sir.
Oh my God. Wow. Skims Wear. And I'm assuming that's only for women unless men want to explore their feminine side, but
it doesn't. All the press release says for USA Olympians, and a lot of the photos are of women, but it does say there's shirts and such. So because it doesn't explicitly say specifically for women. So I guess we'll have to see. Could you imagine Kevin Durant walking around?
No. Yeah.
The Olympic Village. Draymond Green. Come on.
Just say no to Skims Wear, America. That's all I'm saying. Come on. Levi's, yes. Ralph Lauren, yes. Victoria's Secret, yes. Especially now because they're rebranding, but not Skims Wear.
Apparently they didn't rebrand fast enough or soon enough.
If there's a man who would do commercials for Skims Wear, I think it's Tanner Carlson, as long as Tim Tebow wasn't involved. Yeah. Tan Man's going to join us. We'll talk a little NFL football and more with Tanner Carlson. Coming right up, sports update at the top of the hour. It's the Chris Duel Show. Jason says Kim Kardashian probably underbid Victoria's Secret. She's still trying to run a business. That's possible. That's possible, Jason. Maybe they gave them a sweetheart deal. Okay, I need to save this, and I'm almost done. One more. Then I have to go get the tripod for Mr. Tanner Carlson. Oh, come on. Don't do that to me.
Quickly with QC Kinetics.
All right. Thank you, Armando. I appreciate your kind words. Thanks to you, Armando, everybody else hanging out with us this morning, including Jason, Manuel, Eric, everybody on Facebook, everybody on YouTube, Twitch, wherever you may be. I am going to go get the tripod for Mr. Tanner Carlson, who is about to join us. Just talked to Charlie Parker in the hallway. He's on Kawhi's birthday. He's going off on Kawhi too. Somebody sent him an email going, I don't understand your hatred for Kawhi Leonard. He destroyed our team. We'd be in the Western Conference Finals right now. All right. Dan punched a horse in Blazing Saddles. Who was? He played for the Detroit Lions. No, that wasn't Dan Deerdorf, Jason. Here it is. It's not Dan Deerdorf. It is Mongo, played by Alex Karras. It was Alex Karras. I used to know that off the top of my head. Obviously not now. But I wish somebody would have punched Dan Deerdorf in Blazing Saddles. That would have been nice. Woo! Okay, now. All right, now. There he is. How are you doing, man?
Good.
How's your day?
That's going all right.
Good.
All right.
Anything on your radar?
Oh, we can talk some Longhorns. Longhorn football.
Cool.
We can do that, and then we could do oh man. What about favorite Cowboys uniforms
Since the throwbacks are coming back.
Throwbacks are coming back.
Absolutely.
If we need to go with the Cowboys.
It's always fun. But yeah, good to talk Longhorns.
I got some stuff about Sark and Herman.
Beautiful.
This is the Chris Duel Show.
Here we come. Good morning, Yvonne. Haven't seen you in here in a while. Good morning.
Chris Duel.
It is Taco Tuesday. We are in the 8 o'clock hour. And I don't think we've talked football yet. It is about darn time on this show that we talked about football. We've talked a lot of basketball. We've talked about Scottie Pippen. We've talked about Kawhi Leonard's birthday. We've talked about the Olympics and Kim Kardashian's Skims wear. But we went 2 hours, Shannon. What is wrong with us? Did football, did God sport the greatest sport on the face of this earth And in the history of this universe, did football come up at all in the 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock hours on this show?
We just talked a little Travis Kelce.
Ah, there you go.
And then
Okay.
some Euros and football.
Oh, that was, see, I don't call football. I don't count football, but you're right. Travis Kelce, who like Tanner Carlson, hates Tim Tebow. So
Travis doesn't hate Tim.
You did not invite him to tight end camp.
It wasn't his camp to invite him to.
He could have thrown his weight around.
Gave his reasoning.
Wait, why are y'all just throwing me under the bus?
Because you hate Tim
I
Tebow.
don't hate is such a strong.
You sports hate. It's like I hate
sport-
Kawhi.
Okay, I can sports hate or be sports annoyed with Tim Tebow.
See, I got a reason for Kawhi. Kawhi destroyed my basketball team. Tim Tebow didn't destroy any of your teams, unless maybe you're a Broncos fan, but you're not.
No,
he didn't even destroy the Broncos.
No, he actually led them to a Super Bowl because he left.
Oh wow! And won a wild card playoff game against the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Tebow
when he and Jesus
props.
threw that post pattern.
So Tebow gets props for a wild card playoff win, but Romo, oh man, what did he do with his time at the Cowboys? Man,
Dated Jessica Simpson.
Yeah, what a disappointment Romo was for the Cowboys.
He was a disappointment.
But Tebow gets the praise because he got a playoff victory for the Broncos.
If you'd have left him in and not brought in that Peyton Manning dude, who
yeah.
led the Broncos to a Super Bowl.
What a bummer.
Yeah. That is Tanner Carlson, who is our go-to guy on many things, including Dallas Cowboys football and all things Texas Longhorns, because like Shannon, Tanner is a hardcore Longhorns guy.
And we haven't talked Longhorns this offseason, really.
No, and now that baseball's over.
Yeah, not since Sark, we haven't talked Longhorn football since Sark was named the head coach. So
True.
I kind of wanted to break down the differences between the staff that he's brought in compared to the staff that Herman brought in.
So you're going to pile on Tom Herman here now.
Because a lot of people, and myself included, I know I was kind of part of the whole group of, is this the same hire that Texas has had in its previous coaching staffs with Strong and Herman previous to Sark? So I kind of wanted to jump into a little bit of the experience that he's bringing in compared to what those other guys did.
Okay.
More so on Herman's side. I didn't really go back to Charlie Strong's side. That's in the past. That's been done.
Yes.
So, but yeah, so I think it really speaks volumes as well that Chris Del Conte, the athletic director for the Longhorns, he hired and signed Sarkisian to a 6-year deal instead of a 5-year deal. And he's paying him more money over a longer period of time. So
what was Herman's a 5-year deal?
Herman's was a 5-year deal for $25 million, and Sark was 6 for $34, I believe. So it's a slight increase. I mean, it's a $9 million difference, but per year basis, it's like $500,000 more. But still more money over a longer period of time. And we saw what we had to do with Herman's contract. You had to buy him out. You paid him $14 million for him no longer to be your coach anymore. So, but Herman brought in a lot of his guys from Houston. If you look at his defensive staff, I've got notes here. His defensive staff, he had 2 coaches totaling 6 years total of those 2 coaches who had coached in Power 5 conferences in major teams.
Yeah.
Compared to Sarkisian, who's bringing in 5 coaches who have coached at multiple colleges and even has some pro experience with Bo Davis, the defensive line coach. They've got Power 5 conference experience across the board on his defensive staff. Every single hire that he has either been in the SEC or some other Power 5 conference. In fact, 4 of those 5 were in the SEC for multiple teams for multiple years. So I'm already, based on experience, you would think that this coaching staff, just on experience on the defense side of the ball, this defense should be improved over time. Now, I'm not saying next year Texas is going to be in the college football playoffs or win the Big 12. It is going to be a process, but
they better.
But they
better win the Big 12.
They should at least be competing for a Big 12 championship, no doubt about it.
Yeah, I mean, they should be knocking on the door at 8-3 or something.
Obviously, and that should be an every year thing.
Yes.
Texas, the expectation for Texas around the country, even if some people think that they're irrelevant at this point.
The one idiot, Paul Feinbaum.
Yeah, but Texas, it should be kind of an anomaly if Texas finishes outside the top 15 in any year.
Agreed.
It should be like, whoa, what happened there? Or they're transitioning a new quarterback in after a Sam Ehlinger or something,
Yeah.
Along those lines.
Because what you describe is what that would describe Oklahoma, Ohio State,
Right.
Clemson, Alabama. I mean, top 10. They should be Longhorns should be top 10 every damn year.
And you should finish within that range.
Yeah.
And that should just be kind of and then of course every 2 to 3 years you're pushing in a top 5, top 4 spot. So going on the offensive side of the ball, you've also got way more experience than Herman's staff. Herman had 3 coaches, Power 5 experience. You've got on the offensive side also 3 Power 5 coaches that were have that experience on the offensive side of the ball for Sark. However, the big difference that I think a lot of maturity that Herman's staff did not have will be on Sark's staff because he's got 3 former head coaches at Power 5 conference teams on his staff, helping him out, distributing kind of responsibilities and delegating those responsibilities. And they know what it's going to take to be a head coach and how much focus Sark may have to do for something else. And so they can kind of take over and he can feel confident in those guys picking up those responsibilities and stuff. And Herman, he had 0 head coaching experience on his sideline. Other than himself at Texas and at Houston. And he brought over his Houston guys, so.
Well, and let's talk about that for a second.
It's such a different aspect.
Yeah.
From going to Houston Cougars and upsetting Oklahoma one year to being at the University of Texas.
And yet Herman came from Ohio State as an assistant before Houston. You would have thought he worked with a lot of Power 5 guys.
Right.
You would have thought he understood the value. I wonder if Herman was a little wanting to make sure nobody,
stole his thunder.
Exactly. Stole his thunder or, had more knowledge or authority in the past. Granted, he was the head coach. He would have ultimate authority, but it does sound like he was worried that somebody might undermine him somehow.
And I think Herman is kind of kind of the power hungry guy anyway. He wants everybody to know he is on top of the mountain. He is the one that you refer to when you think Texas football. And that should never be the case in any program. You should never be like, oh, well, other than maybe Nick Saban and Bama, those two are like intertwined forever. But I don't know. And then Shannon, I want you to touch on this as well in terms of recruiting. What we've heard from previous players, he's really getting guys like Colt McCoy, Vince Young, Earl Thomas. He's getting these throwback players who had huge impacts at Texas, whether it be Derek Johnson or whoever it is, coming back and helping with recruiting, where these guys kind of criticized the Colt McCoys, kind of criticized Herman for not doing that. And they never got invited back to camps or to talk to the team or on recruiting visits. He didn't really want those outside guys coming in. I don't know. I've heard those sorts of things, especially with this last big, kind of recruiting visit that Texas recently had. He had McConaughey, he had Colt McCoy, he had Shipley, he had Vince Young, Ricky Williams, all the greats there on these recruiting visits. And I think that has a lot to say with not only how your recruiting does, but just developing and knowing what the culture is for these high schoolers coming in.
The move from Mac Brown to Charlie Strong is always odd, right? When you have a guy like Mac Brown leaving, that so many of these great players and so many of the high profile Texas fans like the Mark Henrys and like the Matthew McConaughey's know, love, and cherish, it's hard to then switch that allegiance over, especially when you feel like there was a bit of wrongdoing, right, in the way that Mac left. So when Tom Herman came in, it's very similar to what we're seeing now with Chris Beard, right? And Shaka was the successor to Rick Barnes. They were all at the press conference. They were all, this is the next guy. We're all on this train. We're behind him. And then he comes in and he does what he does, right? What you said of I'm the king here and it's my way or the highway. And this is how things are going to be. If you don't perform in practice, it's runny eggs. If your pee is a certain color, you're going to be cleaning the gym. Those kind of things that, are they instilling discipline or are they turn off for players and recruits and who are hearing these stories, obviously, and thinking, I don't want to go there. And former players who were able to have this success without all of that, thinking, what is that guy doing? So now when you bring in Sark, and so far, and it's easy because he's yet to take the field, he's said all the right things. He's behaved a way that I think is different, right? He seems like a welcoming guy. He seems nice to be around. Herman just kind of had this arrogance that just like you
Kind
could
of turned
feel
people
it.
off.
Like
Yeah.
you walk in a
Yeah.
room, right? I mean, one of his recruiting tactics was he would have guys over to his house and he would invite some local food trucks. Okay, that's cool and all, and that is a very Austin vibe and whatever. And oh, look, I got to go to the coach's house. But you know when you meet someone that you can instantly, vibe check, and I don't think he ever passed it. And so having all of the flash and whatever doesn't go a long way if you don't pass that vibe check. And so far, Sark has the vibe, right? I mean, he got it from the jump, all gas, no brakes. People love it. They've stuck on it. There's
Mhm.
hats, there's t-shirts, there's billboards.
And it's
there's
gone to every Texas sport. I mean, we see it in
Right.
baseball. We
There-
see it in volleyball. We see it no matter what it is.
There's
Yeah.
the lights now that they're using for the locker room's under construction still, so they're using the lights with the all gas no brakes for the recruits to come in and take photos, and take those photos with Sark, and take photos with former players who want to be there to say no, we believe now.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great sign too, when you do have all these players back that haven't really been back in these past couple of years. You can feel it. It's in the air. It's not just the new stadium. It's not just that he's a new coach, but so far everything is hitting. And you mentioned the coaches. Charlie Strong fell victim to it too, right? Bring your buddies, bring the guys that
Right.
have been loyal and you don't think will undermine you, and then you hold on to them for too long. And we saw it with Herman and Tim
Yep.
Beck. Hashtag fire Tim Beck. Hello. Too late, too little, too late, and he couldn't make right. And I think the hires that we've seen from Sark are very much in line with what he said in his press conference. When he had those other coaching opportunities, he learned he couldn't do it all himself.
Right.
He's got what he's good at, and he'll stick to that. And he's brought in guys who can help him in maybe some areas that are his weaknesses, or just areas he knows that he won't have enough time to pay attention to.
And one of the things that bothers me most about, and you hit it right on when you were talking Strong and Herman bringing their buddies in. I think that's one of the worst things you can do. I mean, it sure at some parts of it, sure, you can bring a couple of guys that you ultimately trust and know are going to be
Yeah.
loyal and can spread what your message to the rest of the team in terms of the culture and all that stuff. You can trust those guys. They know what you want. They know what you're asking. And so they can deliver that message a little bit more clearly maybe than somebody who's coming in new. But I think what Sark's doing is he's just saying, look, I'm getting the best guys. I don't care if you're my friend. We're here to win football games.
Yeah.
And that's what this is the staff I'm going to put together to help us do that. It's not, hey, I knew you from way back, man. We go way back. Let's be buddy. This is going to be a great thing that we're going to do. I don't think it has anything to do with any of that. And I think that's great. I wanted to, how much do you think culture plays into a winning program?
It's huge.
I think like that I think there's a reason why, and I don't know if it can be explained at all because it's new players every single year, especially at the college basketball ranks. But there's a reason why Duke, North Carolina, Kentucky, Kansas continually do it with a new group of guys every single year. I think it's because you go there expecting to win. And it's not just because you get the top recruits. Texas has gotten top recruits. There's been plenty of teams who get top recruits, but don't do anything with it. And so, there's a reason why Bama reloads every year and they just clone running backs that look the exact same for the last 15 years.
Yeah.
It's because I think it has everything to do with the culture that Saban or say a Dabo Swinney integrate in their programs. And I think that has been the biggest thing missing since Mac Brown left Texas. I think the culture has been just lost in terms of that winning pedigree that you expect when you walk on campus.
Now, given that, and you use the term expect, and we touched upon this for a moment earlier, you really need to win. If you want to set that up as Steve Sarkisian, you need to win pretty much coming out of the gate. I'm talking about the whole season.
Right.
I mean, you need a pretty good season. Obviously, you've got to deal with Oklahoma in the Big 12, and that's going to be a tough hurdle. So each of you hardcore Longhorn fans, what is your expectation for this season?
I would be very pleased with 9 wins. 9 wins I'm happy with. you get 10 wins, you're probably looking at a Big 12 championship game against OU more than likely. And, you know, I think anything 9 or above would be a very solid, great start to the Sarkisian era.
Shannon?
Yeah, I agree. You know, the thing with Mac that we missed so much was he was pretty solid at getting 10 wins every season. And he was so solid at it that when we weren't winning Big 12 championships or we weren't going to a major bowl game, people scoffed at it, or they thought they considered us losers. And the truth of the matter is Texas fans would do anything to have 10-win seasons year in and year out. So I think 9 is a great place to start. You know, it'll be easier to judge after we get the Louisiana Lafayette game out of the way, just to see what we're working with. I think the biggest thing for Sark this year, and it's happened in both football and basketball last couple of years, of we have all these great talents coming in, right? All these 5-star guys, all these number 1 recruits, but they don't get developed. And so they never, we talk, you know, Tanner loves the draft. He talks about that ceiling. They never hit where they're targeted to go. And a lot of that is culture and a lot of that is coaching. And so I think the environment is now in place. So seeing what Sark can do, if he can develop these players, and there's some great talent on this Texas football team, there's no reason they can't string together 9 wins this season. And when we think about the playoff expansion, that's going to be happening in the next couple of years. You know, that I think is also more motivation to finish out the rest of the season. And if you are injured, maybe playing in that game that, you know, you may have otherwise sat out, or saying, I'm going to go ahead and rest because of my NFL future. I think that isn't a major factor, but I do think it will play in the back of the minds of these players going forward.
A high-profile name. We talked about him just a couple of weeks ago, Arch Manning. Yeah, he's still got 2 years of high school to go through. But, you know, Sark was a quarterback whisperer at USC, and, you know, under Pete Carroll before he became head coach at USC. And then at Alabama with, you know, offensive coordinator there. If you're an Arch Manning, I mean, it might be a cool destination. Well, what do you think about landing a marquee quarterback like that?
I don't know. You know, there's so many rumors that get spread out, and you read little articles that sprinkle little fairy dust all over the place where it kind of gets your hopes up a little bit. Well, I read one of those the other day, and it was on a Georgia website, and Arch Manning just finished his visit with Georgia.
Okay.
And Kirby Smart, and apparently there's been some leaks of some of the other recruits and assistant coaches, positional coaches that say the team we need to worry about the most is Texas when it comes to Arch Manning.
Whoa.
And like I said, I hate reading that stuff because that's a year from now, you know, he still has his senior year to play. Like, you know, so that's so long. It's so far to the future. It's tough to think about. But when you hear little murmurs like that, you start kind of getting excited about what could be, you know, is that true? Did Arch Manning say something at his Georgia visit that hinted at, you know, Texas is one of my top teams, one of my top destinations to go to? And he just came from a visit from Texas and spent the whole weekend with Sark. So it is something to kind of, you know, it's interesting enough to keep my ears perked up a little bit. You know?
He is Tanner Carlson. He is a great follow on Twitter at Tanner Carlson 20. And we ran out of time, and maybe we'll get to it on Thursday. I know you want to talk about your favorite cowboy uniform ever. If it's not the traditional,
the throwbacks, I think it's fun. I think it's fun that it's the throwback.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I'm interested. I'm ready to see what team. You know, I was like, had no idea teams weren't wearing throwbacks. I didn't even realize that they weren't wearing their old uniforms, like old helmets and stuff. Like,
I just noticed I was swearing less when, you know, because when I'm an old man, I'm a tradition. Just wear, especially the Cowboys. You have discovered the most iconic, beautiful jersey and uniform combination ever. Right. Don't mess with it.
There is one thing can we figure out what color our pants are going to be? I don't like the seafoam greenish, bluish. My mom has the biggest pet peeve, you know, just me growing up and her liking football and watching it, but women notice things men don't notice. And she's like, why are there 4 different color blues on their jersey? You know, like, you know what? Can we figure out a blue and settle on a blue instead of having, you know, 15 different blues on one jersey? That would be nice, you know.
So that's a little preview. Yeah. Tanner's going to join us on Thursday in a little less than 48 hours, and we will dive deep into the greatest cowboy uniform and jersey combinations ever.
Yeah. I think that'll be fun.
And
Yeah.
all
There was one. I'll give you a little heads up, and I know I'm running over time. I'm sorry, but I remember the Roger. I don't remember it, but I remember watching highlights of Roger Staubach. There was a design where it was red, white, and blue.
1976, the bicentennial year.
We need to bring those back.
Yes,
we need to bring those back.
I totally agree with that. I was in Texas Stadium when they played the Eagles in '76, and they had the red, white, and blue
stripe on the helmet
beautiful.
is awesome.
It's perfect for America's team.
We need to bring it back.
Twitter at Tanner Carlson 20. We'll talk about America's team with him on Thursday. Tanner, outstanding as always.
Glad I got some Longhorn talk in.
It's about darn time.
Yeah.
Yes, we're getting closer.
We were past due.
Getting closer to football season.
You have a great one.
You too, sir. More coming up as we get ready for tonight. Can Trey Young play, and can he play effectively for the Atlanta Hawks? They trail Milwaukee 2-1. That game is in Atlanta tonight against Milwaukee. We'll talk about that and more. Houston Astros in a mini slump. They've lost 3 of their last 4, but they're still overall playing very, very well. And when they lose tight ones. They lost last night to Baltimore 9-7. Not that you want to lose, but they're not getting blown out. They still have the best run differential in baseball. They've still got the best record in the American League, and they score more runs than any other team in baseball. Lots more coming up. She's Shannon Salty Sweeney. We're with you till 9 on the Chris Duel Show. Steve DiRocco, the original rock, welcome in. The original Italian stallion, founding member of the San Antonio Polar Bear Club. Oh! That's loud. Let's see. Jason says Klay Thompson just blew out 2 Achilles tendons. Pretty sure teams will still line up to sign him. Anthony says Klay wants to play. Probably wouldn't be hiding in a suite. Okay, so this is all in reference to Kawhi Leonard. Jason says you just mentioned injury, not attitude. That makes a huge difference. Yeah, Kawhi, just such the attitude. And again, I talk about this. Steve Ballmer, the billionaire owner of the Clippers. I mean, do you want Kawhi? I mean, do you want to spend all the money you would need to spend on Kawhi? And I guess Kawhi lately doesn't want long-term contracts. He signs like 2-year contracts, and he's a free agent now. But, you know, is he reliable? And injury-wise, not this year. And attitude-wise, not much. If I'm Steve Ballmer, man, and, you know, granted, there's no big ticket free agents available out there, but I maybe cut ties with Kawhi and start again. And again, you know, part of the calculus is there anybody that you could get if you're the Clippers to still be competitive? Or do you continue to try to make it work with Kawhi? I don't know. Here we come. Woo! Woo! Welcome back. Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney on a Taco Tuesday, June 29th. Big, wow, that was abrupt. Woo! Music just stopped, which is okay. Dave Haler, your soundscape stylist. He'll play the music whenever he darn well pleases. Thank you very much. I noticed, Shannon, I noticed this, and I did not know this, and I know this guy well. Well, I don't know him personally, but I followed his career quite a bit. Ime Udoka, the new head coach of the Boston Celtics, longtime San Antonio Spurs assistant under Greg Popovich, most recently an assistant with the Brooklyn Nets, played for the Spurs for a while. I went to TMZ Sports, and it's got photos of his wife, actress Nia Long, and it says Nia Long is hyped for her fiance's head coaching gig with the Celtics. Nia Long is an actress, and I Googled her, and not that there's anything wrong with this, and it's kind of cool, but she is 50 years old, and Ime Udoka is 43 years old. That's a spread of 7 years. So kind of interesting. Ime, going for the older woman, kind of Mrs. Robinson in The Graduate. Kind of a cool thing there, but I did not know that Ime Udoka was engaged to an actress, and that actress is Nia Long. Kind of interesting.
I don't know who that actress is.
Yeah, she's been in, I Wikipedia'd her. She's been in lots of movies between 1990 and and recently. She's won a number of awards, Best Actress at the American Black Film Festival, the BET Comedy Awards, a lot of NCAA Image Awards. So she's been in a lot of movies, and so she's an actress, and she is engaged to Ime Udoka, who is now the head coach of the Boston Celtics.
Does for their relationship when most actors, their home base is like in LA.
Yeah.
Some New York, but obviously he's stuck in Boston.
Yeah. Well, now Nia was born in New York City.
Okay.
And it looks, she may be a New York-based actress from what I'm gathering looking at her Wikipedia. No, but she was born in New York, but she grew up in Southern California. So I'm wrong. So you're right. That's, and granted, Ime Udoka now will be the coach of the Celtics. I think about famous actresses / NBA people. Obviously, we had Tony Parker and Eva Longoria. They were a thing for a while, but it didn't last that long. So and I do wonder. I always wonder when it's two very, very high profile people. Obviously, Tom Brady and in his case with Giselle is a big deal. But you wonder if both of them have their own careers, and they're both high achievers, and they both have careers that are very demanding. And clearly, obviously, if you're an NBA head coach, that's demanding, I'm assuming. And looking at Nia Long's resume of all the movies she's been in, she's got quite the prolific acting career, so she gets a lot of work. So, yeah, you got to wonder if they can coexist with demanding schedules like that.
It looks like she does a lot of TV and a lot of, I see like a Medea credit on here. But I don't know how high profile I would rank her.
Yeah.
I'm pretty into the celeb goss.
Woo.
That was the first
So if you don't know Nia Long.
If I don't know, that's not to say she's not a great actress, but I just am not ready for the story of if this doesn't work out for him, that it's her fault somehow. Because men can't
exactly
when they've just done something wrong.
Yes. And I'm still bummed that Dennis Rodman and Madonna never worked out. There was a time, in fact, some people blame Madonna. There was a time when Dennis Rodman was a Spur. He was dating Madonna, and in a playoff run, and it wasn't a long run because they were eliminated by the Utah Jazz back when the Jazz had Karl Malone and John Stockton, but Madonna was with Dennis Rodman, and she was going to Spurs games, and obviously she had very good seats, and she was, front row center at Spurs games. But sadly, and it seemed like a match made in heaven to me. Madonna and Dennis Rodman just didn't last very long. So
I think she dodged a bullet with that one.
Mm-hmm. Jason Paniagua telling us that Nia Long was in Boys in the Hood, which was huge. She said that was probably her biggest role, that she was in Boys in the Hood.
Isn't that 90s or early?
But yeah, that was
I've
it
never seen
would have been late 80s. That was like late 80s, early 90s, Boys in the
Yeah.
Hood. And so she's 50 now. So I'm guessing she probably played, a 20 something in that. Because yeah, that one goes way back.
Yeah,
But-
her next greatest role will be cheering on the Boston Celtics like she cares.
Like
Because
she
it's the
cares.
Boston Celtics.
Yes. Well, it is a storied franchise. The Boston, you got to give that to Ime. It ain't the Charlotte Hornets. So best of luck. So let's see. We mentioned last night, Clippers, they will not die. They're the Terminator. You think the movie's over. You think they're dead. No, they're not. They beat Phoenix 116-102. They'll resume that series Wednesday night in LA at Staples Center, where the Clippers at home, led by playoff P, Paul George, who had a career playoff high last night, 41 points to go with 13 rebounds, a double-double. Will try to send that to... See, that's my worst nightmare, Shannon, on Kawhi Leonard's birthday, that somehow Paul George is going to will the Clippers into the finals, and then all of a sudden, Kawhi is going to go, oh, I feel better. I think I'd like me another MVP trophy and another championship. Yeah, I can play now. Yeah, I'm good. I know the medical staff said I could go in the conference finals, but we were down 3-1. I'm not playing at 3-1. But hey, yeah, now that we're in the finals, yeah, I feel good. Let's go. I would hate that if it happened.
I think he'd get more heat than praise if that were to happen.
But does he care? I agree with you. He would get more heat than praise, but does he care?
He doesn't, but he doesn't care about anything.
Yeah, true. Oh, we didn't mention this, and I'm bouncing around. It's the final segment. It happens. But an American with a major upset at Wimbledon yesterday, Francis Tiafoe. If you haven't heard of him, neither did I before yesterday, but he's an American. He upset number 4 in the world, Stefanos Tsitsipas, to advance at Wimbledon. So you beat the number 4 guy in the world and you're unranked. That's kind of cool.
It's the next Andy Roddick, I guess. Let's just all get behind him.
Could be.
I can't name another American male tennis player.
Well, yeah, you can't name a lot of them. You're right. So, yeah, we will get behind Francis Tiafoe. We'll see if he can continue. And so is game 2, I don't even know because I'm not paying attention because the Longhorns aren't in it. I'm assuming tonight is game number 2 of the 3-game College World Series. Vanderbilt won last night 8-2 over Mississippi State. They scored 7 runs in the first inning. It was kind of over before it really began after the obligatory Omaha rain delay yesterday. But Vanderbilt apparently poised to win its 2nd straight College World Series if they can win. I do believe that is tonight.
What is it people don't like about Vandy?
I don't like that Clay Travis went there. So I don't want Clay Travis,
Well, that's a bit of a
the
stretch.
very humble and sweet and well-grounded Clay Travis, former lead into us, but now he's the new Rush Limbaugh. He and what's that guy's name? Forget what his name is. Anyway, he's there's 2 guys now who have taken over the Rush Limbaugh time slot.
Jonah Knox and Brady Quinn.
They're actually, I enjoy them
Yeah.
more than Clay Travis.
I don't know if they've been made permanent yet.
They should be.
For them on
They're good.
my way in.
They've got attitude. They're funny. They've got a good chemistry.
They're a great hype piece for our show.
Yes. So now I now like our lead-in, Jonas Knox and Brady Quinn, and then we heard earlier from the guy who follows us nationally, Dan Patrick, a little bit earlier in the show. We played some Scottie Pippen. Scottie is the gift that keeps on getting. It's like every time we hear from Scottie Pippen in the last 2 weeks, Shannon, it gets weirder and weirder. And while I think maybe it reached its apex of weirdness yesterday morning on the Dan Patrick Show, we shall see. And as I mentioned, Scottie Pippen asserting once again and emphatically on the Dan Patrick Show, we played you the audio earlier in this show, that Phil Jackson is and was a racist for designing a play for Tony Kukoc to win the game for the Bulls. And oh, by the way, the play worked when Scottie Pippen then refused to go in the game because the play wasn't designed for him for the game winner. Tonight on TNT, the Milwaukee-Atlanta Eastern Conference Finals game is on TNT. I expect, Shannon, to hear something about Scottie Pippen and Phil Jackson from Shaquille O'Neal tonight.
I mean, who would have thought after all we went through 2020 that in 2021 we would be on Pippen watch?
Wow.
And, he's on all these photographs and videos. He's promoting this bourbon, so he's drinking a lot of bourbon. Maybe he's just drunk.
That could be.
Maybe he's just drunk uncle, okay? And I hate to say it because it's working. I'm now interested in this bourbon, and I want to taste it only so I can just affirm that it's probably not very good.
And yeah, I think we got an email from one of our bosses who was saying, hey, man, all this Pippen bourbon talk, and now I'm curious.
Oh, that was me.
Oh, that was you. Okay. Yeah. I was reading an email thread. I was like, who said that? Was that our boss or was that Shannon? All right. That was you.
Yeah.
And I'll sample it. I mean, as a...
I'm not going to pay for it.
No. But as I believe, Shannon, as sports talk hosts, it's our job to do research. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, how can we talk in an educated manner about Scottie Pippen's bourbon unless we've sampled it ourselves? I'm just saying. Yeah. Maybe he'll send us some. Maybe we should hit him up on Twitter. Go, yo, Scottie, send us some bourbon. We'll have you on the show.
It's not like a fully legit bourbon when there's no website for said bourbon.
That's a little frightening.
It's like Total Wine and Spirits. Buy it here.
Scottie Pippen is the website.
About it. The walking website. He's the walking dark web.
Jason Paniagua on Facebook Live just told us Scottie Pippen's bourbon is bitter tasting.
Seriously, because it's being advertised as super smooth. It's all, he was smooth on the court. Now he's got this smooth bourbon. He enjoyed his championships with drinks, and now he wants to serve you up a championship bourbon. Okay, that's hilarious if it really is bitter.
No, I think he's being metaphorical because Scottie's bitter right now, so his bourbon must be bitter. So, but yeah. Oh, so Scottie Pippen wants to serve us up some bourbon, unless it's Tony Kukoc, then you don't get any because I'm not going to the game.
Yeah.
Don't drink any of the bourbon.
Drinking anything that Pippen hands to me.
Kukoc. Yeah. So Scottie Pippen was the topic of our poll today. Based on all we know about Scottie Pippen, what is he? Was the question. What do we have, Shannon?
Most people are saying he's bitter.
He's bitter.
I think we should have had a fifth option that he's drunk. That's my new take.
We might have to roll that over to tomorrow's poll. Yeah. I don't think irrelevant would have been a good choice. That is one of the choices. Everybody's talking about him. And tonight it might even be Shaq on TNT. So he's not irrelevant. He's just out there, way out there, and possibly drunk. Shannon Salty Sweeney, spectacular as always on Laundry Day. We miss your Longhorns gear, but I'm sure we'll see some more tomorrow.
Oh yeah, you as well, sir. I'm wearing a Justin Timberlake throwback.
Oh, so you got to go. I'm wearing my Taco Tuesday tacos. Three causes that I'm behind: peace, love, and tacos. So there's that. David Ayler and Felix, welcome. Thank you for all your hard work today.
Thank you. Be back again tomorrow.
Back tomorrow. We look forward to that. Our thanks to Tanner Carlson, Tim Tebow hater, Tanner Carlson, with great Longhorn talk today. So there's that. Woo! Shannon, have yourself a fantastic Taco Tuesday. May you find the taco of your dreams and consume it today.
Thanks. I think I'm having peanut butter sandwich for lunch.
Yeah, I want a taco.
Toast.
I'm going to scour the city for tacos. Have yourself a great Tuesday. Adios, amigos.